Welcome back to Max and Nate Horsemanship in a series of videos that I call Baby Steps. And there's actually two reasons for that title, and I kind of like it, and I'm going to keep using it, and it'll be part 1, 2, 3, 4, so on. Well, of course, the obvious reason is we're working with a baby. So that would kind of make sense to baby steps, right? Because it's a baby. Well, that's not the only reason, and it's a reason that I think is really important that I've mentioned before is it's kind of the way I do things is baby steps. Very small little steps, a little at a time, and eventually you get where you're going and you end up with pretty good results, I think. I don't care the age of the horse, I still go in baby steps. It's just a principle that I've always used, or at least for a very long time anyhow. And that way the horse never gets overwhelmed and, resistant or whatever. Anyhow, another thing I want to talk about is, well, this little horse was not a planned purchase. They actually have another one here that they had planned on buying for quite some time, and we're even on a waiting list before it was even born. And they got the thing, and they're pretty happy with it. And this was just kind of a spur of the moment thing that wasn't really planned at all, and just happened. But you know what? I think they actually made a very good choice. Now you're going to notice something that I'm touching her on the face. There's no leader halter on her or anything. I'm touching her on the face. I can rub her all over. We're not done yet, though. We've got some other things that we'll work on. I'll talk about in a minute. But I want to talk a little bit about a book that I know exists. I haven't read it. But I happen to just absolutely love the title. And it's written by a fellow by the name of Mark Rashid, who I believe has written, well over half a dozen books. And what I know about him, he seems to be a pretty decent horseman. And he mixes his horsemanship, he teaches classes and stuff, and he combines his horsemanship with martial arts, which I think is brilliant in a way. I'm not huge into martial arts or anything like that, but martial arts is largely about self-control and that sort of thing. And so I think martial arts and horsemanship actually make a very good combination. It just seems to really make sense to me. So anyhow, that's a little bit about him. But this one book in particular, like I said, I haven't read it, but I absolutely love the title. And the title of the book is A Good Horse is Never a Bad Color. And I think there's a lot in that title that we can use and think about because, well, you might end up with a horse, let's face it, people love Palominos, for example. A lot of people are just desperate to have a Palomino, and I don't blame them. They're good-looking horses. It's a nice color, but the color doesn't mean much. And, you could end up with a horse that's wrong color, wrong breed, wrong size, wrong conformation, and it could still turn out to be an absolutely phenomenal horse. And I think this is the kind of what we're dealing with here. This little filly is, we know the dam, but we have no idea who the sire is. So the breeding is kind of, we don't really know. But just from my experience so far with this horse and her temperament and her ability to learn and everything else, I think they got a marvelous horse here. And in my opinion, I think she's better than the one that they paid good money for and were waiting for. This one they actually got relatively cheap because it was kind of an oops baby that nobody really wanted. And opportunity arose and, they decided to buy it. And that's how she came to be. So don't get too judgmental when it comes to your horse when you're always shopping for one. If you haven't already got one, don't set things in stone that it must be this certain breed or color or size or whatever, because you just never know. It may turn out to be an absolutely lovely horse, even though just about everything's wrong. Is it really? If you get a good horse, is it really wrong? Well, that's something to consider. Like I said, the title of his book, honestly, I got to start reading some of his books. I just it's a little effort involved in locating them and getting them because I don't live in the city. I can't just go to a bookstore. And he's actually in another country, so I don't know how easy it would be to obtain them. And I'm not big on reading, so, but I do think those books might be worth reading. Like I said, remember the title, A Good Horse is Never a Bad Color. That's very important. The concept of that title is very important. Is, don't be judgmental. We don't know what her breeding is. She's kind of an unwanted little horse, and yet this little horse is doing absolutely amazing. As you can see, I can touch her all over, scratch her, rub her face. We can do all kinds of things with her. And just a few weeks ago, it was you had to be really careful even just to get near this horse. And touching it was, pretty iffy. And now I can do just about anything I want with her. Well, I want to talk about how I got there. Baby steps. Now, it's one of those things that, unfortunately, I don't have on video. But every day we went out with her, and I've got to set this up, is I generally only have my weekends available during daylight hours because we have no artificial lighting out here at all. And I generally only have the weekends to work with the horse. During the week, because I have a full-time job, I only have a few minutes, when I get home from work before it gets too dark to work with the horse. But I have been making use of that time. Now, not every day even. So you need to understand that too. That, our full sessions are only on the weekends, and during the week, sometimes it's only every second day that I spend a little time with her and, rub some ropes on her, touch her, and that sort of thing. And, well, as you can see, the results are pretty good. And that was accomplished by anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes at a time. That's all. So you don't need to spend a ridiculous amount of time with your horse in order to accomplish things and have results. You can do it in a very short period of time. And, like I say, you look at what we got going on here. She wants to be with me now. I can handle her all over the place. I can touch her face. We still got stuff to work on too. And I'm going to get to that in just a minute. But it all can be accomplished in baby steps. Just remember that one. Baby steps. Just go slow, be patient, don't get in a hurry. She's not even a yearling yet, so it's going to be a long time before she ever has a saddle on her. So there's no rush to get a lot of this stuff done, but we do want to get her to the point where she trusts humans enough that we can handle her and take care of her needs that may arise. Because, well, already we're looking at one. I'll explain it, and I'll explain how I'm going to do it here too. Is one of the things is she's never had her feet picked up, being that she's unhandled. And well, looking them over, the front ones are a little long, but they're not horrible. They look decent. The back ones, I actually noticed there's a couple of anomalies that, yeah, they probably should be trimmed. Now, I don't get too concerned about that stuff because I even had a couple of horses of my own that were like 4 years old, never had their feet picked up or trimmed. And, well, I figured when I got them, it's like, they're going to survive. They've been living this long. They're going to survive a little longer. So let's not get in a panic, and we'll deal with some other stuff first. And that's kind of what we've been doing with this one here is, just dealing with some other stuff, getting her used to being handled and trusting humans and that sort of thing. That way, when you pick up her feet, it's not a very traumatic event for her, even though she does kind of need a trim. It's not a really urgent matter. Some people, and this is something I want to talk about, and talking. Yeah, here I go again, talking. You don't want to hear me talking, you want to see me doing, but unfortunately, I need to talk to explain why I'm doing what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. It's very important. The talking is just as important as the doing. I know it's not as much fun to watch, but you need to see this stuff, or you need to hear it, I should say. But that is one of the things that we are going to start working on now that she's starting to trust us quite a bit. We're going to start working on the feet because even though I'm not overly concerned, I think she'll be okay. Looks like she may have had an abscess on one that it's blown out a long time ago, and it's probably going to be just fine. We don't need to worry about it, but it probably needs to be taken care of just to make sure that it doesn't cause cracks and splits in the hoof and that sort of thing, because those are things you have to take care of. And I want to talk about trimming horses is something a lot of people get real concerned about when they get a horse, and then regardless of age, one of the first things they want to do if they see that it needs a trim is, oh, I've got to get this thing trimmed. It's my responsibility to look after this horse, get it trimmed right now. And I don't think that's urgence. And you know, a lot of people will even go so far as sedating a horse that is hard to handle so that they can get it trimmed. And that is absolutely dangerous. And it's also expensive because your vet has to administer the sedation and they have to be in attendance at the same time as the farrier. And it gets not only, you know, expensive but complicated to do this stuff. And it's also dangerous because even while sedated, and I've seen this happen, is a horse can kick. They can still kick. Just because they're sedated doesn't mean they're safe to be around, especially if they, you know, aren't a well-handled horse. They may easily think they need to defend themselves in their stupor and kick out, and somebody could get hurt. And you don't want that. One other thing that can happen, I've heard of it happening, I haven't seen it, I haven't experienced it, but depending on how the horse reacts to the sedation, each one's a little bit different. Some require like half as much as any other horse, and others require twice as much. And I've seen both ends of the spectrum. And what can happen, and like I say, I haven't had it happen to me personally, but I know of it happening, is a horse can actually fall on you when it's sedated because they just don't have as good a muscle control and balance and that sort of thing. And when you pick up a foot to try and trim it, the next thing you know, you got a horse on top of you. Don't want that either. That's dangerous too. You don't want to have a, you know, especially if it's a, you know, a full-grown adult horse, say 1,000 pounds, you don't want 1,000 pounds falling on you. That's going to hurt. So we're just going to work on all the preliminary stuff that needs to be done so that when it comes time to trimming her, no sedation is going to be needed. It's not going to be a traumatic experience for her. It's just going to be one more thing where, oh yeah, I got to hold up my foot again. Okay, I can do this, no problem. So I'm going to show you what we're doing, how we go about it. I actually did a video on this not too long ago, but I'm going to show you that I not only talk about it, this is what I actually do. Hang on, I'm going to be right back. I got to go grab a tool. Yeah, a tool. Well, actually, I think maybe for this I should put a halter lead on her too for my own safety. It's a good idea, I think. So give me a minute. I'm going to put a halter and lead on her and go get my tool, and we'll talk to you and show you exactly what we're going to do to get her comfortable with having her feet handled. And who knows, by the end of this session, we might be picking up a foot and holding it. That's my hopes. What a sweetheart. Okay, we're back with you. And I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with this little horsey. And she's doing remarkably well, and I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. Don't expect your horse to be like this. This thing, she's incredible. I'm actually quite impressed by her progress, how well she's doing. You see, very quickly we put a lead and halter on her. And each time I do this, she's better. And, you know, partly it's because of how I do it. I just go slow and don't traumatize the horse, but at the same time, the halter's not going to go away, neither is the rope, and she's learning that. Now, I got a tool here that I'm going to use for this, and you don't have to have the exact same tool. You could use a lot of different things, including a broom handle, just any old stick, whatever is handy. This happens to be what used to be a lunge whip. I found laying around, the string was gone off of it. I just cut it down a little to a length that I thought was convenient. It's got a nice handle on it. Works really good for a number of things, including what I'm about to show you. But like I said, you don't have to have this exact thing. You could do the same thing with your stick and string, your lunge whip. Lunge whip probably wouldn't be bad, especially on a brand new horse that you don't know how it's going to react, because it keeps you they're a little longer, and so it keeps you at a distance. Just pull the string back, hold on to the string, so you got primarily just a stick. The string becomes irrelevant. Same with your stick and string, your training stick, whatever you got. I don't care if it's a broom handle or a golf club or a fishing pole. Well, fishing pole, you got to get rid of those little eyelet things on them because it might hook on the horse or whatever. But anyhow, I'll show you what we're going to do. And before I reach down and grab one of those feet, which is one of the ways of doing things, and another one is actually tying them, I don't want to do that. I don't want to traumatize her. I want to do things in a fashion that, you know, I don't want her to think she can get away with whatever she wants, but at the same time, we got to make sure that we're steady on things. So to start with, I'm going to start with the safer, easier ones, which is the front feet. Because if she's going to react, I'd rather it be the front ones, because generally they're only going to go one direction, and that's straight forward. And as I showed you in my other video, so what I'm going to do to make myself safe is I'm going to get off to the side, basically right beside the shoulder like this, so that, you know, this stick is 90 degrees to her body, and if she kicks, her feet are going out forward, I'm not going to get hurt. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to start by just rubbing on her a little bit with this thing, so she realizes that when it touches her, it's not a bad thing, and it's not a big surprise when it does touch her. She's even looking around, sniffing at it. It's like she's kind of exploring it. That's okay. That's a good thing. Let them do that if they want, if that's what makes them comfortable. And then I'm going to kind of move it around and rub under her neck a little bit. And then I'm going to start going down to the legs. And I'm going to go all the way down, and she's a little concerned about that. She's looking at it. She kind of pulled her foot away from it. But I'm just going to keep it there. I'm not going to hit her with it. I'm not doing anything except, you know, doing weird stuff with your foot's not going to make it go away. There we go. She stopped moving. Now I'll make it go away. See how this works? It's like just about, the same principle as just about anything in training is doing the right thing makes the adversive thing go away. I'm just going to bring her ahead a little bit more so we're more centered on the camera so you can see what we're doing. Good girl. Good little horse. So we're just going to continue on. This is what we're doing. This is all real time. Her feet have never been touched before by humans, and this is exactly what you're going to have to do. Now your horse may react a lot more than this one, but she is reacting a little bit, which is good. You get to see, you know, she kind of isn't too sure about something touching her leg. She's not super freaky about it, but you know, she's got a little bit of aversion to it. She's not totally comfortable, but that's okay. We're just going to go slow. Again, I'm going to make sure I'm off to the side in a safe place in case she does get a little excited and kick at this thing. Okay, she still picked it up again. I'm just on the front so far. Now I'm going to move to the back, and might get a totally different reaction. Who knows? Yeah, a little more of a reaction actually, which is okay. Well, oh, she's not too happy with that. She doesn't know what to do about it though. She's kind of like, this thing's touching me. I don't like it. But I got to be careful because she is moving around a little and pawing out, and you know, this is the point at which, you know, if she got excited and those feet come flying forward, I could get struck. So I'm going to make sure, absolutely sure, I'm off to the side here. Now we're going to touch it again. Oh, she does not like that. She does not like that. That's okay. We'll just go slow. We'll stop doing that for a minute. Just rub on her a little more until she figures out this stick is okay. It's not hurting her. There's nothing bad here. And you know, she's getting a little fidgety about this. She's not crazy about this stick. Even her hind legs are moving a little bit because you know, something's touching her, and she's not too sure about it. And in a way, it's kind of a natural reaction when there's a strange thing for them to kind of kick at it. You know, if there's flies on the belly or something like that, they'll kick at them. That's normal. So it's kind of an instinctual thing for what she's doing. You know, but you got to go slow. Otherwise, you know, you can scare the horse and you can get hurt. So just take your time, okay? So we're going to go back to doing this a little more. Back down the front again, and oh, I don't like that. She moved. So we're just going to put it back on her. Oh. Okay, she stopped moving now. I've taken it away. And I'm just going to rub her with it. Nicely, gently, smoothly. I'm not going to scare her with it. I'm not going to swing it fast at her or anything like that. We haven't done anything like this with her when it comes to rubbing stuff on her and touching her. So this is a rather new thing. So we're kind of doing a few things at once here. There's a little desensitizing going on, as well as getting her used to having her feet and legs touched. Because the way she's getting fussy, she's kind of telling me that if I had just reached down and grabbed a hoof, things might go bad. You know, she's telling me that this is a smart thing to be doing here. So now we're gonna, you know, now that we've been doing this a bit, we're gonna go back down. You can tell she's a little concerned. We're not in the same position we were in before, And this isn't necessarily the best view, but I think you can actually see what's going on. Now I'm going to touch the back of her leg. Oh, she does not like that one little bit. She's pretty upset about that, so she moved. I'm just going to keep rubbing her until she gets used to this thing. And I wonder, oh, she doesn't like that. Okay, I just thought I'd try touching her belly with it and see what she thought about that. We're really going to have to go slow with this. Really going to have to go slow. Because we've only begun what we're doing, and she's getting pretty concerned about it. But, you know, I'm going to just keep rubbing on her like this, nice and gentle and smooth. And I'm keeping the lead fairly short for my safety. That way she can't spin around and kick me with her back end or something silly like that. Every time she comes around, I'm just going to keep moving so I stay beside her. I know she doesn't like this thing. She's actually seemed to be getting worse, not better with it. There we go. She stopped moving. I take it away again. And this is what you're going to have to do. And this might take quite some time. Now she's facing straight toward me. I don't like that. That's a bad position. I want to bring her forward again, so that kind of kill two birds with one stone. Get her more in the middle of the camera shot, and that way I can get up beside her into a little safer position. And hopefully she won't move. Good girl. Okay. This is going to take a while, apparently. I can tell right now, but I'm glad I'm doing it this way because, you know, and this is why I said in my other video, you know, you don't just reach down and grab a foot. You don't know what you're getting into. This is an indicator. This shows me what can happen. It also gets her used to things touching her legs, which, you know, she's young, wary. That's a really strange thing. She doesn't want that happening. So, you know, this is something that she's going to have to take a while. Now I'm going to try something a little bit different here. We're going to just rub on her shoulder a bit with this thing sideways, so she gets used to this thing touching her. Good girl. There we go. She's doing very good. Take it away. She's not moving. She's not having a fit, not getting upset about it. I don't like that. I don't want her moving back. Just going to put a tiny bit of pressure on the halter, and she will step forward. I know she will. She's very good this way. She actually leads quite nicely. Remarkable for a very unexperienced horse. And we're just going to tell her she's a good girl. You know, and you know, we're not getting in a hurry to do this. Oh, I'm not in the middle of the camera shot again. Darn. Sorry about that, folks. I'll just bring her ahead a little bit. And you can see I don't have to pull hard. She's following that lead really nice. We're just going to tell her what a good girl she is. Yeah, she's doing good. She's doing okay. But obviously this is going to take a while, clearly. And, you know, I'm okay with that. If it takes a while, it takes a while. This may take several sessions. I'm not going to bore you with that. You're not going to see this for 3 sessions in a row, even though we might actually be doing it for 3 sessions in a row. Maybe 4 or 5, I don't know. Maybe we finally found something that she's not so good about, and it's going to take some time. And, you know, I'm just going to, oh, there we go. You know, she's relieving herself. Rather loose stool, that's an indicator if you're paying attention. When they're relieving themselves, that says they're a little nervous, and depending how loose the stool is, that also indicates the level of nervousness in the horse. And the fact that she relieved herself and it's loose says she's pretty nervous about this stuff. It tells me a lot right there. You think that's no big deal. Horse just pooped. Don't mean nothing. Oh, yes, it does. It tells you a lot if you're paying attention. It's one of those things that I always say, you got to really be paying attention to the horse. And it'll tell you a lot. And her body language and the things that she's doing and tells me she's very uncomfortable with this. This is a really, you know, and considering how well she's done and everything else, kind of surprising in a way that this is really bothering her as much as it is, but obviously it is. So we're just going to, you know, one thing at a time, go slow, and she stopped moving. I take it away again. This is actually, I'm actually backing up a little I'm just touching her on the chest with it. I'm not even touching her legs right now because I've just observed that she is very concerned about this, what's going on, and I don't want it to be a real super stressful event. I don't want it to really freak her out, get her upset, and I want to keep it to the point where it's manageable for me, because if it gets out of hand, she's not going to learn anymore and it's going to get dangerous for me. So we don't want to push her to that point. That's what I said previously, find the line and don't cross it. And we're right at the line right now, and I don't want to cross it because bad things will happen. She'll freak out, start spinning in circles, I'll get hurt, she'd kick out, I might get hurt from that too, and we don't want any of that stuff happening. So we're just going to go slow. It's very clear she's not happy with this. She's very stressed over this whole thing. So that's where we got to adjust what we're doing. It's like, I was thinking this might go a little bit faster because everything else has, but clearly it's not going to. It's going to take time, and that's where I immediately, as a good horseman, have to adjust myself. I have to adjust what I'm doing with this horse to suit her needs. And if that means backing off and slowing down a whole lot, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're not going to stop completely. I'm not done doing this stuff because it has to be done. But I'm definitely going to back off and do it a little slower. Now, again, I'm going to, as soon as this stick moves towards her, she gets turned. Very good. Good girl. She stopped moving though. And as soon as I swing it around, she gets a little concerned again. She really don't like this thing. I'm thinking what might be useful is actually changing it up a little, trying something different every once in a while, just so it's not one particular item that is a concern to her. And I'm just going to bring her ahead again, so because I know she might back up, so there we go, good girl. And so I smoothly brought it up, and the whole time I did that, I was watching her to see how she'd react. You got to pay attention to the horse. It's very important, because the horse can tell you an awful lot. She's being a real good little girl though, and most times she is. Most things, obviously this bothers her though. So we're going to go slow. Again, I'm off to the side. Now I'm going to touch, oh no, she's going to back up right away, or move right away. I haven't even touched her yet. She just saw the stick down there and thought, I'm going to move so it can't touch me. I'm kind of careful. I'm keeping the lead out so she doesn't turn into me, face me, or anything like that, because that could be dangerous. Let's see, I'm just going to try again, just a light touch. No, she moved right away. Oh, she's very upset about that. She don't like it at all. Oh, now, there's a time I like to not take things away until they smarten up. But there is a time where you got to realize, you know what? Wisdom says stop doing it, because the horse is she was right at the line there, and if I had continued, probably some bad things would have happened. At the very least, it would have really upset her, and it would have become a traumatic experience for her, and I don't want that. And clearly, I'm going to have to go super slow with this stuff. And maybe I'm actually getting a little ahead of myself here. And, maybe we should be doing a little bit more just general handling and stuff before we try rubbing her with a stick, because we've never done anything like this with her before. And clearly it's got its issues. She's not too cool with it. I might actually change plans altogether and do something different, because this isn't going very well at all. And that's one of those things where I said, as a horseman, you got to be flexible. And in this case, I might have to get flexible and just completely change plans, do something completely different, because she's obviously not real cool with this thing. And it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. And, well, I'll talk about that too, is the other extreme is getting too far ahead of yourself. And I'm going to share a little story on the subject of handling feet. I was talking to this one young lady one day, and she kind of aspired to be a horse trainer, and she'd obtained this little project horse that had been very poorly started, and she was restarting it. And she was actually riding the thing when I was talking to her. And I happened to look down and I noticed the feet were terrible. And I said, boy, he really needs a trim. And she goes, oh yeah, he needs a trim, no doubt. But he kicks. And I'm thinking, okay, the horse is that nervous about things that will kick when you touch its feet or try picking them up to trim them. Why are you riding the horse? Because that's a nervous horse. And there's an order to things that you have to do. And obviously this one is not going to get ridden for a very long time yet. But there's an order to things. And before we can pick up her feet, we have to continue working on building trust with her and getting her cool with stuff so we can do just about anything we want, including picking up the feet. Clearly, we're getting ahead of ourselves here, the way she's reacting. We can't do what we want to do, so we're going to have to do something a little different. But there is an order. There's an order to things. And I thought, if you can't even pick up the feet and trim them, you should not be riding that horse. That's out of order. In my mind, it just seems to be kind of common sense that, you haven't addressed getting the horse to the state of mind where it's calm and relaxed so you can pick up the feet, which would in turn make it safe to ride. That's what I was thinking. And, well, that was kind of confirmed in a very short period of time. She took the horse out to the round pen and was riding it in there, and it took the bucking. Now, I didn't witness that one. I wasn't there at the moment when it happened, but it didn't surprise me one little bit because a horse that you couldn't pick up the feet was too nervous to be ridden, and the bucking was like, that's something a nervous horse does because it's scared, it's worried, and that's its self-defense mechanism. That's how it gets a predator off its back. As far as it was concerned, its instincts were kicking in, and it was trying to get rid of what it thought was a predator on its back. It was actually a rider, but the horse doesn't see it that way. So that was one of my experiences, and it's a true story that I saw firsthand, is doing things in order. That horse wasn't comfortable to the point where you could pick up its feet, and if it was that uncomfortable, you shouldn't be riding it. They went ahead and they were riding it anyhow, and sure enough, just a matter of minutes after I was talking to her, the horse took to bucking. So that's why it's important to do things in order now, and that goes right along with what we're doing here. Okay, I want to do work on her feet today, but clearly that's not the case. That's not what we need to be doing. We got to just generally get her more comfortable with us, weird things happening. I'm thinking maybe a little desensitizing might be in order so that when strange stuff happens, she doesn't have a fit about it. So I think we're going to put this one on pause for now because we're not making any progress at all here, and she's clearly not too happy about it. So I think we're going to try something different. Give me a minute. I'm going to be right back with you. I'm going to get a different tool, and we're going to try something here that maybe it'll work. I hope, because we're doing pretty good so far. So I think we can actually move on to the next step or another step, and it's something that I've kind of gotten a notion that she might not be too bad with from previous experience. So I'm going to try something else here. I'll be back with you in a minute and show you what we're going to do. Okay, so we're going to try something a little different now. And from previous experience waving this thing around her, she doesn't get horribly concerned about it. So I'm thinking maybe this thing will make a little progress. Now, clearly what you can tell it's a lunge whip. Well, it's a modified lunge whip. This is the point at which a lot of you, if you have a stick and string, you'll be using one of those for this. I use this very similarly. It's for desensitizing. I'm going to rub her with it so she gets used to it, and then I'm going to throw it over her, and I'm going to see if she's really nervous about this thing. She doesn't even want it touching her. Okay, I'll just go slow, back off. I'm going to stop and pull the string back, get a hold of it, just like you would with your stick and string. So now you got just a stick, and I'm going to rub her with the stick. Then I'm going to drape the string part which in this case, like I said, I've taken the core out of this one, so it's extra light. So it's something that'll be a little more, well, a little less intrusive, I should say. Whereas those of you that are using a stick and string, the string on that is actually a rope, and it's pretty heavy, and she might not like that. So I wouldn't even bother trying that just now. I'm going to start with something a little less intrusive, a little lighter. We're going to start with this. And we're going to start by just rubbing her. And you say, hey, nice girl. What a good girl. Yeah, just, take our time. Go nice and slow and move all over her. And, oh, I think I just found an itchy spot there that she seems to be liking. That's good. That's good. Okay. And I'm not going right behind her, but I'm going down the back quarter there. We'll go down the side a little bit. And she's doing pretty good. Now, because what I have done in the past that turned out to be, she didn't have too much reaction, is I was actually swinging this thing around, and I was hitting the ground just in front and behind her, and she really wasn't having any reaction to it. So I thought that because of that, this might be something that's appropriate to try using right now. So I'm going to do this. I'm just going to wave it around a little bit. And, this is something that, you can do too. And I'm going to start off, I'm waving it over here, nowhere near her. I'm in front of her. And the worst thing that could possibly happen is she's going to want to back up. I got some extra lead here. I can let her back up. I don't have to hang on to her. But as you can see, she's still standing here on a slack lead. This isn't bothering her. So I'm going to do something that it's more of a desensitizing thing. What you do is you just gradually get closer and closer to the horse with this thing. Now you see I'm starting to go at an angle. I'm getting closer to her back end now. And I'm going to keep doing that until, I do get a reaction, then I'm going to stop there. I'm not going to get any closer. Don't want to do that. Don't want to get a horse all excited. Oh my, I got a little closer than I was planning there. What a sweetheart. Nice little girl. Actually, I think I'll just do it from this side since I'm right-handed. It's easier to hold this in the right, lead in the left. And, I'm just going to keep doing basically what I was doing before. But this is actually fairly close to her nose, and it's not bothering her. So I'm thinking, you know what, we're making progress here. So I'm just going to lift it up over her, something going over top of her. She's a little bit concerned about that. So, yeah, okay. That wasn't cool with her, but that's okay. She didn't overreact. That's good. So I'll just back off there. I'm just going to keep doing this. It's up high. She's a little concerned because it's up right in front of her, quite high, and that's a bit of a concern for her. So I'm just going to wave it back and forth up here. This is kind of at our limit. Like I said, find the line, don't cross it. So I think we've kind of found the line, or how close we can get. You can see my arm is actually only, actually could touch her. I'm touching her nose right now. That's how close I am doing this. So I can do this, and I'm just doing it gently. I'm not really trying to get her upset. I just want to slowly but surely get closer and closer with this thing so that she figures out that, this thing doesn't hurt me any. It's not something to worry about. I don't need to freak out. You see her head came back down from when we first waved it over. Oh, it just came back up a tiny bit. Not bad. She's not super freaked by it. And that's great. And this is, again, I'm paying attention to the horse. This is what you got to do, is watch that head. See how freaked out she's getting about stuff. This isn't rocket science, It doesn't require an insane amount of skill and knowledge. You just got to pay attention. That's all. You just got to pay attention. So I'm just going to keep doing this. I'm just going to keep waving this thing back and forth, and I'm gradually getting a little bit closer to her when I do this. When I swing this thing down in front of her, this stick is actually pretty close to her nose, and as you can see, her head is coming down. She's getting used to this thing. She's not worried about it. It's not something that's like, what the heck is that? When the head goes way up in the air, that's what they're saying. And that's what's going on in their brain. They don't think in sentences, by the way. That's just a reaction thing. But that's essentially what's happening is, what the heck's happening? What is that thing? Should I be worried about it? Well, if I do it gradual, I just gradually get it closer. She figures out she doesn't have to worry about it. And, well, there's kind of two things are going on here, too, is, not only am I desensitizing her to this stick and this little rope or string or whatever you want to call it, but she's also learning something that I mentioned, the same thing applies with the flag, too, is when it means something, when it doesn't. And so she's learning that if I'm not directing this at her, it doesn't mean a darn thing. I can wave this thing all I want, and it has nothing to do with her, and she doesn't care. So now I'm going to try something just a little bit different here, and I'm going to gradually change the angle. You see her head starting to come up? Because the end of this thing's actually going over top of her as I'm swinging it around. And I'm just going to keep doing it at this distance until I see her head come back down a little bit, and then I'm going to get a little bit closer. But she's pretty wary of this thing, so I'm not going to get any closer at the moment. I'm just going to kind of keep it at the same distance from her. Like I said, actually looking up at the end of this thing as it goes around, it's actually going over top of her. And see how good she's doing. And I'm going to just move up a little bit. She's not overly concerned. She's a little, she's on alert, but she's not freaked out. So I'm just going to keep doing this. Yeah, head's still moving around. She's not froze up or anything. That's good. She's a little concerned. You can tell by the ears. The head is up a little bit, but that's okay. That just means that, she's doing all right with this. And now this thing's pretty much right over my head, so the end of this thing is probably well past her tail end. Now she's a little concerned with that. I'm not gonna get any closer to her with it. In fact, I might even just back off just a tiny bit and just wait for her to get good with it and realize that I don't need to worry about it. Yeah, the ears are kind of turning around and everything. She's not overly concerned. This is how you approach things, is you kind of keep an eye on the horse and find out what its limits are. And as you can see, as soon as I stopped doing it, the head came back down. But she wasn't freaking out about it. My lead's still loose. The ears are moving, and this is something that's a real tell, is how much the horse is moving. If the mouth's moving, the eyes are moving, the ears are moving, if the head's moving around, it's not overly stressed. When it freezes up and absolutely nothing is moving, be careful. In fact, you better back off a little bit. As you can see right now, she's gone back, because I stopped doing this, she's gone back to totally relaxed again. She's about as good as you can get. And we kind of want her to get that good while I'm whipping this thing around. So I'm going to go back to doing this again so that she's, we already had one little thing where it's gone quite a ways over. And I'm just watching her out of the corner of my eye. And okay, she's right there. That's kind of the limit. But that's still pretty darn good, because it's going right over top of her. The end of it is probably, okay, there we go. That's super good. She's super relaxed now. When you see a nice big yawn like that, and it's like, I don't care what's going on. So we've made some huge progress right there. I know that doesn't seem like much. All I did was wave the thing around. Didn't accomplish anything, you think? No, I accomplished a lot right there. You don't realize it. It seems like such a silly thing. And this is one of those things. This is why I'm showing you this stuff. It's because this is stuff you got to do. It's all the silly little things that seem like they don't mean nothing, but they really do mean a lot to the horse. And, the horse is the important part. Oh, I just love this little thing. I can't get over how good she's getting. So I'm going to just keep doing this. I'm just going to keep spinning this thing around. And eventually it's going to come down beside her like that. Or maybe on the other side of her like that. And in fact, maybe I'm going to get a little closer to her with it. And she has no concern at all, you'll see. This is lovely. I like this. And it's not that she doesn't have any concern at all about this thing, but her concern level is very low. I'm pretty happy about it. She's a little wary about it. She's moving away from it a tiny bit, as I'm holding it here, but that's okay. I don't mind that. But I'm going to rub her with it again. Just take our time, go slow, a little bit at a time, just rub her with it. It's okay. You're a good girl. Now, let's see if we can just go around behind her with it and right over her with it. And there we go. And we're not actually touching her with it. Eventually we want to, oh, you see her flinch a little when it touched her side, but I'm going to drag it over very slowly and carefully. There we go. That's beautiful. Good girl. That's a good little horse. And you notice I keep my distance from her when I do this, because when it touches her, if she decides to jump sideways, I don't want her jumping on me. This is important to do this. Now let's see what happens. I touch this side, she flinches. But this is doing good. She's a little concerned, but considering that a very short time ago, oh, sorry dear, didn't mean to upset you. Easy, easy. There we go. I'm still touching her with it because I want her to stop moving, and now I'll take it away. There. That's how you make bad things, scary things go away, is don't react to them, and they go away. Because that's ultimately what you want, is you don't want the horse reacting to things. So this is how you achieve that, is that you don't, a lot of people say, oh, the horse is freaking out over it, I'm going to stop doing it. No, don't stop doing it. If the horse don't like it, all the better. Do it more. And she's still a little wary of this thing. She's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of funny. She's not super concerned about it, though. It's great. And eventually I want, when things wave in the air right over her, she gets concerned. Things rubbing on her doesn't seem to bother her any. Let's see what happens when you do this. Yeah, that's got her a little concerned. But we're going to keep our distance. And I'm not going to do it super hard. But this is something you could be doing too with your stick and string or whatever you got handy. And don't get too vigorous with it. Keep your arm up as high as you can and do it in such a fashion that it comes nowhere near the horse and the horse doesn't get too concerned about it. And that's what you want. Now, she was a little worried about it. Like I said, you pay attention, you notice this stuff. And I don't think I'm going to go on too much more today with this video, but I think I'm going to go on a lot more with this. We're going to do this a lot more until we can just flip it over her back and forth and she doesn't care. And that's ultimately what we want. In fact, we're almost there. As you can see, I just flipped it over her and there we go. Oh my goodness, this is exactly what we want. And when she gets good with this, I've got another longer rope, not my lead rope, I got my training rope. It's more, well, I use it as a lead too, but it's a lot longer than this one. And I'll probably use that to throw over her back too. It's a little heavier. And, if she's good with this thing, then she'll be good with that thing. And then eventually, when she gets really good with all this stuff and being rubbed on with it and everything else, I think then it'll be time to move on to the stick that touches the legs and work on her feet a bit. And already, when I wave this thing near her legs, she's not near as concerned as she was with that other thing that was touching her. Oh, she's a little wary. Okay, that's all right, but she'll get there. Yeah, she'll get there. There we go. We can rub on her with this thing, and that's why I said, sometimes you got to change your plans and do things a little bit different. And we're going to try something else, which is this thing, before we move on to the feet. And when she gets really good with this thing, I think maybe she's going to be better with her feet and not get so upset when I touch her with that other stick. And who knows, I might just use this one, because you can do that too. I'll just hold the string back like this, and then I'll use this thing to touch her legs. I like the other one because it doesn't have the string on it. It's a little easier to use. But, we'll use what we have to, and, you'll use what you got. And that's kind of what we're going to do. And, that's why I say, be flexible. Good horsemen are flexible. We're experimenters. We try things. If it works, good. If it doesn't work, we stop doing it and do something different. And that's exactly what we just did today, is we started off trying to work with the feet. That wasn't a good thing. So we went to this thing and got her used to the rope. Now she's still a little wary about it. That's okay. But, we're going to keep working with this thing until she gets really good with it and doesn't really care. And another thing that you can do with your stick and string that is helpful is actually touching the legs with the rope. Yeah, she still doesn't like that. Okay, that's all right. And one of these days we will get to that stage too, where I'll take a rope and then just flick it, and it'll actually wrap right around the leg. Part of the desensitizing thing. Well, that's part of the thing, one of the many things that you're going to want to do eventually anyhow. She's not ready for that yet. We're not going to even try it. But you are going to want to do it, because inevitably at some point in time, something's going to get wrapped around her leg. Whether it's your lead rope, your reins, just something laying on the ground. And you don't want the horse having a meltdown because of it. So that's one of those things you're going to want to work on, is that the rope around the legs. But we're a long way from there yet. But today we're just going to work with this thing. And she's a tiny bit concerned about it, but not horribly. So we're going to do that. And we're going to, oops, sorry dear, didn't mean to bump you that hard with it. Just the weight of the string kind of pulled it down on her back a bit. Good girl. And just to change things up a little, because I've said in the past, horses, for some reason, the way their brains work, I'm not a medical expert on this stuff, but there's a lot more separation than there is in a human brain, and whatever they learn on one side, they got to learn on the other. So whenever you're doing anything with your horse, whatever you do on one side, also do it on the other side, because it's like a whole new thing to them. When they see it in one eye and learn it, they're good with it. But as soon as you do it on the other side, it's now a new thing. I'm probably going to repeat this several times, because this is super important. And people run into these problems all the time, and they're such simple things that you just have to understand the horse. And that's why I said horsemanship is understanding the horse. And so we're going to do the same thing we did on the other side. I'm not actually touching her with the thing, but I'm going to throw it back and forth over her. And she's a little concerned about it, but that's because she did it on the other side, not this side. And, well, I mean, she wasn't actually super good on the other side yet either, but we're just going to keep doing this until, and that's why holding it up and spinning it around, she's actually getting exposure on both sides doing this. Hi, sweetie? Yeah, nice girl. You're a good little horse. See? And one of the things you can do, and this is something that usually comes later, is you just slap the ground with the thing, and you just gradually get closer to the horse as you're doing it, and until they don't react. She's reacting. Okay, I've figured out how close I can get now. I'm not going to get any closer. I'm going to keep doing it at that distance until she stops reacting, and then I'm going to stop doing it. And then I'm going to go over to the other side, do the same thing on the other side. And eventually you can slap the ground all around the horse, you know, just inches away, or millimeters, or whatever your thing is. And I didn't ask you to come to me. Good girl. Good girl. So I'm just going to, as soon as it went way up in the air, I've got her concerned, but I'm going to slap the ground. I'm getting closer, getting closer, getting closer, just ever so slightly closer each time I do this, you know, not by much. And okay, that's the limit right there. That's where she's getting concerned about it. I'm going to stop there until you saw her head come down. She got relaxed, didn't bother her anymore. That's how you do it, a little bit at a time. And I'm going to give her a little break, tell her she's a good girl, which she is. She's doing remarkably well. And I'm going to do this again. And I'm going to start fair ways away and gradually get closer. And you can do the exact same thing with your stick and string or whatever you got handy. You can do the exact same thing. And when you get to the point where you know, you're moving very close. Okay, I moved in, she's starting to move, she's getting a little concerned about it. I'm not going to go any closer, but I'm just going to keep doing the exact same spot, or as very close as I can to it. I'm not super accurate with this, but yeah, good girl. There we go. She stopped fussing about it, I stopped doing it. And I can repeat the same process over and over many times on this side, then I can move to the other side, do the same thing on that side. I'll just start swinging this thing, get closer and closer and closer to it. You know, and there's just so many variations of how you can do stuff too. Like when it comes to getting them used to stuff flying around over top of them. If I get any closer, I'm going to risk actually hitting her with this thing. I'm actually hitting the ground just a matter of inches behind her. I can't even get any closer. I would probably end up hitting her if I tried getting any closer there. That is remarkable. That is really good. Let's see what we can do. Oh, pretty good. This is one of the things. She's a little more wary of that. So I'll go back to this because she needs to get used to this again. I'm going to shorten the lead back up a little for my own safety. And we're going to throw this over her just gently and pull it back. I'm not going to try and push her too hard. Normally you would actually throw this onto their back and then pull it off. I think that might be a little too much for her right now. Yeah, she's still a little concerned about this thing. I'm just going to move it in. Every time it touches her side as I move it in, she flinches a little. And this is something that you might not have to do with your horse. You might be able to do the method where you just simply flick it up so it lands on the horse. Now, that touched her leg. She didn't like that. But I'm going to see if I can... There. Oh, okay. She's getting good with it now. Even with a heavier rope, this is what you would do. She got a little concerned when it landed on her. And then I'm going to pull it off. And then I'm going to do it again. And pull it off. And do it again. And pull it off. And do it again. And pull it off. And she's actually getting... There we go. That time she didn't even flinch when I did it. Excellent. That's... You think that's nothing? Just throwing a rope on a horse. Try it sometime with a horse that is not good with it. It's a little more than you think. Yeah, what a good little girl. I'm just going to move over to this side, do the same thing on this side. And, oh, my goodness, it wrapped right around her, even touched her legs, and she didn't react. We're making progress doing this. This is great. There we go. And she's like, what the heck is that thing? She saw it hit the ground right beside her front leg because it's quite long. She's not crazy about this, but that's good. She's tolerating it. She's tolerating it quite well. And she's not freezing and tolerating it. And that's the thing you got to really watch is when the horse stops reacting at all and when they don't move anything, you got to be real careful because then you're dealing with a time bomb. It could explode at any moment. She's not like that, actually. She flinches, gets a little concerned, but the whole time, the ears are still moving, the eyes are still moving, the mouth's still moving, the head's moving. All this stuff is still happening, so she's not getting over concerned about it. I'm just going to ask her to move over a little bit more because she's a little off center. She's like, no, I don't like this. What are these ropes on my face? Come on, dear. Hey. You can do this. Yeah, she's never reacted like that before, but that's okay. Something new, but there we go. That's what I wanted. Good girl. Good girl. And again, baby steps. She only took a couple steps towards me, but that's really all I wanted anyhow. And she did what I wanted her to do, so I made sure she knew I was happy with that. So I told her she's a good girl, because even if they don't understand your words, they understand your emotions. And that's exactly what just happened, is she understood the fact that, I was happy with her. She likes the fact that my emotions said, you're a good girl. And so we're going to just keep doing what we were doing before, throw the rope over, let it land on her, because she seems to be doing okay with this. And it's even flipping over and touching her legs once in a while and go, oh, that one just wrapped right around the back leg. Sorry, dear, I didn't mean to do that. That was a little too much for her. That was too much. And that, again, you got to watch, pay attention. Watch what you're doing. Watch what the horse is doing. And, that's okay. That's okay. There we go. See, I actually did some damage there because I went a little more than she could handle. And now when I go back to this, it's a little trickier because she's a little more concerned that that dang rope might try grabbing her leg. See, to a horse, this is not just a rope. You think of it as a pretty benign object that isn't anything to worry about. And what she's looking at is, it might be a snake that's trying to bite her or strangle her or she doesn't know. And her survival instincts are just kicking in, and she's just, reacting exactly how a wild animal would react, which is something actually I did a video on a while ago. Is this is a wild animal, Yeah, that's why people have trouble with them. Actually, I've talked about it a couple of times, is because they've actually done DNA testing on wild horses, domestic horses. Their DNA is all the same. It's their environment that they grow up in that makes the difference. A lot of people say you got to know what you're doing to work with a Mustang. Well, there is a little bit of truth to that, because a Mustang is generally raised out in the wild. But ultimately it's just a feral horse, and it's no different than this horse. Only this one grew up around humans. It was born in a pasture, grew up around humans, but because it had virtually no human contact, it's not much different. Only advantage we have here is that being that we started working with her at a very young age, that's to our advantage. So, no, she's not a Mustang, but honestly, not much different. If you were to get a Mustang the same age, you'd probably be dealing with the exact same thing. Honestly, this is a wild animal. Remember that. And no matter how much training you give it, any horse, you'll never ever get rid of their instincts. You can't make them go away. They're hardwired into them. It's from the factory. That's the way they're built. And so when a horse decides to buck, bolt, strike, rear, any of the negative things that we associate with horse behavior, it's nothing more than their instincts kicking in. That's all it is. And you have to understand that risk is always there. And most of the negative things that the horse does is just its instinct reaction to a situation. It's not being bad. I mean, like I said before, they don't know the difference between good and bad. They're just doing what they think they need to do. And in the case of their instincts kicking in, well, if they haven't had adequate training or they can think their way through a problem, they are going to react based on their instincts. Oh, by the way, I didn't mention the weather. Now, you probably don't care, but in a lot of my videos, it's pretty gray out. And you probably think the weather here is terrible all the time. No, it's not. Actually, it's been sunny all week. It's been lovely. But today I decided I want to do a video, and guess what? It's gray. It wasn't supposed to be today. It was actually supposed to be sunny today too. But for some reason, it's totally gray. That's okay. We'll work with it. Doesn't matter. I just don't want you being misled. The weather here is not like this all the time. Just don't think this is the norm. But it's okay. It has its advantages. I don't have problems with the lighting as much when I'm doing videos and working with a horse. I don't have the sun shining in my eyes and things like that. But anyhow, I'm just going to continue on with this. I don't think you really need to watch a whole lot more. Just go slow, take your time, and pay attention to the horse. You just saw her head come up again, but that wasn't horrible. I'm actually scratching her with the handle of this thing. So she's figuring out it's not all bad. Weird things happen, but that thing's not necessarily all that bad. So anyhow, I'm going to let you go now. But I'm going to continue to work with her, doing what I'm doing. Like I said, we're going to kind of forego working with the feet because I don't think she's ready for that. But we're going to kind of get her ready for that. And that's why we're doing this stuff. And we can flip this over and drag it back. And for a horse that was not good with ropes at a very short time ago, she's doing marvelous with this stuff because it's not a whole lot different. And like I said, it's one of those things you really do want to get a horse good with ropes, because whether it's your reins, your lead rope, your saddle strings, any of that stuff, there are so many different things that can happen that will touch your horse, that could set it off if it's not used to that stuff. And that's why you take your time and you desensitize your horse to all this stuff, because essentially that is what we're doing. We're desensitizing right now. Not something I would necessarily do at this stage. I might put it off for a while yet. But because we want to get her good with her feet, we need to do some desensitizing before we can move on to that. So we get flexible and change things up a little. That's what we're doing. Being a good horseman, best we can anyhow. Have a good day, folks, and enjoy your time with your horse. Pay attention. Bye now.